then zoom in if you actually want to drill down on the data. Just put that back because we've got 15 years worth of data. And then the final example I've got is just a sort of canvas, so it's just sort of an infographic of the information we've got so far on the affordable housing, so we can see how it's changed over the years. I think my backup was from 2018, so it's probably the start of 2018 because there's not much affordable housing there. But that gives you some idea of how it's changed over the years. And then we've got a couple of extra bits on here, so the maximum affordable housing in a permission must be quite a large permission. The total amount of affordable housing that have been done over the last 15 years, and then obviously the number of permissions that actually had affordable housing, and then a couple of extra ones. So the borough that had the most affordable housing was Tower Hamlets, and the borough with the least affordable housing, least affordable housing is the City of London. Obviously, depending on what information we want, we can put up the infographics for that. So these were just some of the examples based off a little bit of the data that we've got from the historical database. Any questions?
Cool. So yeah, I guess we just wanted to sort of show some of the capabilities on the front end going forward. Obviously we've not quite got the pipeline of data in place yet, so with those new fields, with those new sort of machine learning attributes, we're going to be able to do some quite cool stuff in Kibana. But this is very much the kind of the way that you will interact with the data going forward. We plan to sort of have a sort of closed version of this for the likes of GLA and the planning authorities. So you can sort of have your dashboards for sort of monitoring and that kind of stuff. And then go sort of referring back to that diagram earlier. There'll be a kind of public interface where the public can actually use this kind of capability as well to suit their needs. Does anyone have any comments or questions or anything for the wider team? Or?
We can answer your questions also if they're not.
I have a question. On a previous diagram, you had the Waltham Forest kind of block there. What is that?
Yes. That was just an example of a data extract that we're going to use to sort of supplement data from the planning portal. So it's kind of specific fields that only exist in back office systems. That we're kind of going to join with the planning portal to create that sort of full data set. That's part of our work program.
Questions for the technical folks, for the non-technical folks like me? Comments, excitement, inspiration.
Looks good.
Back and back.
Yeah, thanks. The affordable housing figures, am I right in thinking that shows the affordable housing that was delivered at the point of completion? Or does it track how that level of affordable housing changed over time? Shared ownership, for example, the idea being that
I think the vision was purely on purpose, kind of very high level.
Yeah.
Obviously, the data can be analysed down, so all the Kibana will allow you to do will be able to drill down into the different types of tenure based on whatever data we have in the database.
Yeah.
So you know that some of the data wasn't collected 10 years ago, so obviously that you're not going to be able to monitor that. But obviously with the new data sets we're looking to have around floor space, bed number, the works, will enable you to actually drill down into that in terms of both affordable and market housing.
And just to be clear, this is just an example of the kind of capability that Kibana has, rather than exactly what we're going to be monitoring at BS1.
yeah, so I've fallen into the trap of saying, show us what it can do rather than...
Yeah.
Exactly. I see two hands. First here.
What happens when there's a S73 granted in a site? Will it supersede the data that's collected from another planning permission?
So this is turning into a bit of a fun to try and work out, and we've identified that part of it is asking the right questions on the planning application form. So at the outset saying, is this superseding any of the previous consent? And if so, which parts is it superseding? And this is where we had some great learning with Plymouth and South Hams, because they do a lot more work on this than we do. So we're looking to ask the right questions, but in everything we're building, we're kind of going to go back and then kind of see whether it works properly to review it again very shortly afterwards.
There's another hand. Yeah?
I have a quick question. So you guys are showing delivery, as I understood. Are you thinking about weighing against the needs for that particular year? For example, so you're delivering this amount of affordable housing, but what was the quota put on for that year? For example? of like the GLA?
It's a really good question. I have an answer to it, and Peter probably does too. But
You can go with your
I'll
answer,
go
then
with
I'll,
my answer.
I'll go with a different one.
my answer is that I think that's outside of the scope of this particular project. This is all about what is happening on the ground,
Yeah.
literally what development is coming. However, other parts of the GLA are interested in tracking need against supply and things like that. The infrastructure mapping application, which I manage, so I'll take a moment to say, talk to me about the infrastructure mapping application if you're interested, is interested in questions around sort of the supply of housing versus the need for housing and the effect that has on infrastructure providers. So we don't have that capability yet, but this data set provides the starting point to then build other types of tools that can do that. You want to have a question?
It's incredible how just seeing some of these front-end things really kind of blows your mind already about the amount of stuff that you can learn. For example, that heat map showing kind of full areas of development, and you start asking questions. And I guess it just shows how impactful this project will actually be, because we're actually asking some planning questions rather than digital questions, right? Because it's actually bringing up a lot of that stuff.
Good point.
Can I ask a awkward question about timelines? So
Please,
obviously
we
your
love
pivot is now to kind of go directly to the portal and for us to supplement that extract. But what's the plan for, like, in terms of the original scope? Are we still going to be kind of working towards that on the same timeline, or is that now longer term?
So,
Shall I go
Go for
there?
it, yeah.
Okay, so you're in a lucky place because you're going with a relatively modern provider who wants to include all of the requirements in your back office system. You're very lucky. So for you, when you go live, you'll be at that ultimate kind of perfect place. For other back office providers, we are in discussions at the moment as to how we get to the perfect place where the data sits in their back office system and they can tinker with it as well. But I don't think it's going to be perfect. So, say for example, iDocs have indicated that they're happy to include it in their next upgrade, but that would require everybody in London to do the upgrade. So that pushes everything back by 6 to 8 months. But it means that they get there. Other providers, it may require a re-procurement timetable to happen. So the next time somebody goes to buy a back office system, they go, right, we want this data standard to be included. So we might have to then wait a couple of years for them. But yeah, so that's our time. This hasn't knocked out the timeline for the delivery of our project. If anything, it's brought it a lot further forwards. But in the ultimate kind of perfect solution, technically, is a bit further backwards.
just to be completely clear, our objective is to get the data set out the other end by our delivery date, which is February 2020, and we will still do that. And the shortcut just allows us to do that for everyone, and then those who are still catching up can catch up later to have the perfect solution in place. Yep.
Is it capable of taking into account the actual sort of dimensions of the development, the footprint on the ground? Because at the moment it's all dots, which is super cool, but you know, developments are very different sizes.
We're pulling polygons from the back office systems for those who currently plot polygons. Ollie doesn't, just so we're clear.
We do, directly into the LDD.
Yeah, but you don't as part in your back office system yet. You will. So for those sites, we'll be pulling the polygons across. So that will give you not the footprint of the building proposed, but it will give you the footprint of the sites. We've spoken to them survey, and they don't see that's an issue as derived data now. So they've got guidance out there that supports us being able to do that, and we can pull that, and we'll be able to make that available publicly. In terms of the footprint of the building, it's not quite that clever yet.
I was thinking more about the footprints of sites. I just
Yeah.
thought that would be really interesting to see in that context.
So that will give you that going forwards for data from when we go live.
Cool.
Ask a slightly related question, which is, on our extracted data that we provided to you, one of the things that we couldn't provide were title numbers
Yeah.
and EPCs. Have you had chats with either Land Registry or MACLG Land, those two?
Yeah, we have spoken to them both about both of them, and obviously we're only requiring that data set going forwards. We're not going to historically fill that data set. It's worth
That's
asking.
very reasonable.
Other question. I also realized I didn't introduce myself. I'm Molly Strauss. I co-lead this project with Peter on the growth and infrastructure team.
One more question. I mean, I think this is going at really good speed, and you guys seem really focused on the delivery date. Have you got a plan for what's going to happen? What's the next stage after that?
Not yet.
We're
Not
looking at it.
publicly,
We're
yeah.
looking at it.
To be determined. Come talk to us later. People will be using the data. That's what will happen after delivery.
Building a road, you would get over there.
But of course, the most important bit, and we want to probably perhaps breach some of the open data standards by wanting to know how people use this data. So there'll be a published API on the back of it, and that will probably shape where we go next. So depending on who and how they use this data will dictate how useful it is and then where we go with the project next.
One thing we didn't mention about our delivery timeframe is that because of our shortcut and other reasons, we are able to do a sort of trial run in October. So we're headed for October with a few boroughs to test out the capability of the system. We expect that to happen real soon. It seems like that's everyone's questions. Last ones. Thank you so much for coming on behalf of Peter and Atkins and the whole team. And come talk to us with any questions.
Thank you very much.